Thanks for coming, guys. It's always fun. Did you guys get chocolate? Amazing. This one right here, going out and getting all the good stuff for you guys. How much did you have? Oh, you need more, man. You know that. You've been here. You've been here enough times. You know what chocolate does, right? You know why you guys eat chocolate when you come to an NLP meeting? Because it releases all the oxytocin in your brain. That same chemical as when you have an orgasm and you just learn faster. And if you guys were looking for a boring NLP lecture, just leave now, because this already got out of control when I was writing it. Okay. Because the first thing I'm going to have you do is all stand up, shake each other's hand, look them straight in the eye, and go, blah, blah, blah. Stand up. Steve.
Hi, Rebecca. No. How you doing?
Rebecca, I'm Tim. And we got to do it. Okay, yeah. Shaking that head. Okay, I'm Tim.
You did really well. I didn't do that good.
Tim, Steve.
Sheila. Wait a minute. Scott?
She's good at it.
Scott? Sheila?
Sheila, hi.
Tim, hi.
What do we have over here?
Yeah. I'm like, this is my acting school. It's something weird.
I'm Tim. Hey,
Tom Todd.
yeah.
Tim Tom Todd. Oh, it's the T show.
There you go.
Ned.
She doesn't know how to do raspberries. Yeah. Okay. I am. Let me hear you do one. Go ahead. Go ahead. Let me hear you do one.
Perfect.
She did it.
That was good.
She did.
That was good.
Because the power in this is the playfulness. So the more you do that, the more playful you get. In anything with hypnosis or NLP, anything with the mind, it's going to be much helpful. I tell most people to learn hypnosis first before NLP, because NLP has got too many rules, too many things you have to do one after the next after the next. A lot of people just completely get lost in the script. Okay, they got this giant yardstick, and they just want to your ass with all these rules in order to get it done. But if you do hypnosis, you can screw it up 9 times, fix it on the 10th, and everything works out fine and nobody knows the difference of it. What brought you out tonight?
Oh, I'm wanting to learn about it. I saw it on the Meetup app and thought it sounded interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Starting to get into a lot of examining spirituality and a bunch of different things, and this just really sounded interesting to me.
Which part? I mean, which part do you really want for you?
I'd have to go back and read it again to tell you the truth, but I think it was just maybe becoming more confident in being able to get things for myself, or to be more sure of myself.
Be more sure of
Doubt
yourself?
myself so much.
Okay.
That probably, that's probably holds me back a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not to doubt yourself?
Yeah.
Cool. Tim, what did you come out for?
Convince people to do things that I want them to do.
Oh.
Give me money.
You might just learn how to do that tonight.
Well, I had also seen it on the Meetup, and I've been wanting to come out. It seemed like my schedule wasn't allowing it, so I got out tonight. But I saw the losing weight. I go over to Orange Theory, and I don't seem to be losing weight, so I figured maybe I need another kickstart, and just making the next 50 years even better than the last.
Cool. Next 50 years better than the last. And why would that be important to you?
be 109, number one, but but it's I just have a great life. But I just if I can figure ways of getting through maybe some procrastination and other things that sometimes hold me up, then I'd have a perfect life.
What do you procrastinate about?
I find that things that I'm fearful of, maybe that I'm not going to do the best. I kind of put it aside, and I finally do it and go, I should have done it a long time ago. It came out pretty well.
Do you have like one in particular that you're
Writing a
procrastinating?
paper,
Writing a paper?
Work, for my job, I'm in finance, and so I find that sometimes I put off, instead of eating the frog and doing the tough stuff initially, I kind of do the easier things, the stuff that I know that I can succeed in.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you put that on the pain level of not writing it?
Oh, it's got to be at least an 8.
An 8?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
And not like you were going to do it, but if you did it, if you just wrote it, you got it done, you had it out of the way, what would that mean for you?
I'd have a lot of relief. I'd be able to focus on other things that I could get done. So yeah, I find in my job that I will put off the tough ones, and eventually I got to get to it.
So you get a lot of relief, and if you got that relief, then what would that mean in the big picture of things? If it was all behind you, you got that relief.
I'm sure it would feel very good.
Feel very good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Rewarding.
And let me ask you, where would you rate that on a scale of 1 to 10? Getting it done.
Probably it'd be a 10.
Why didn't you rate that lower?
Hmm?
Why didn't you rate that lower?
Getting
Getting it done. Why didn't you rate that lower?
I'm not quite sure I'm getting that question then. Maybe I'm not understanding.
Well, you rated it as an 8 to not do it. To not do it. So why would you rate it as a 10 to do it?
Because it's got to get done. It's part of my job, so I think it would be rewarding to me.
Okay. So what would be the next step?
Kicking myself in the butt, figuring a way to get over it after 59 years.
That's a German procrastination blaster that they used in the Olympics in 1980 is when it first came out. And right now you have no choice. You will just find that you're going to go write that paper anyway because you just flipped it inside your mind in order to get it done. If you do that with anything that you're procrastinating on, with that little change, you'll end up going and doing them all. Yeah. Give him a hand. Give him a hand. He's going to get it done. What do you want to get out of tonight?
I think I'm really looking for marketing.
Marketing?
Marketing strategies.
Marketing strategies? And why is that?
Because at this point, and with what I'm doing in my career, I need to take it to the next level, and it's all marketing based.
Okay. Cool. What are you marketing?
A spa.
Cool. Okay. What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? Old timer? What do you want?
I want everything.
You want everything.
That's right.
Anything in particular you want that's in everything?
I mean, it's all on its way to me. So, the reason I'm here tonight is I love personal development of any capacity, in particular NLP.
Mm-hmm.
Has always interested me. It's worked for me, and I love it.
You haven't figured out I don't like NLP?
What's that?
You haven't figured out I don't like NLP yet?
You don't like it? I kind of caught your drift on that.
I pick on it a lot because it's too tough for most people to do. It was too tough for me, too. I have bills. What do you want out of tonight? What do you want to learn, son?
How to maintain a peak state.
How to maintain a peak state. Okay, cool. And if you did, what would that mean for you?
A lot more productive.
A lot more productive? Okay. And I don't know your name, but
Scott,
Scott, welcome. What would you like to get out of tonight?
I want to learn about hypnosis,
About hypnosis? Okay. And what about it?
self-hypnosis.
Self-hypnosis? Because Why, you got things you want to change?
I do.
Okay.
Yes. Focus. Change my job. Just stick to a task.
Okay, cool. Change your job. And if you got the job you wanted, what would it be?
I don't know yet.
Okay. Saul, what do you want to get out of tonight?
How to get out of my own way, how to create a different inner world
Okay.
so that I can change the outer world. I think that I like to learn a lot about, I love NLP. I like it. I don't know much about hypnosis.
I don't hate it, first of all. It's just very difficult for most people, okay? And people get locked up into the script, and they never make it useful in the real world, okay, other than in a total clinical setting. And there's so many ways that are just better, and a lot of them you're going to learn tonight. Some people that have been here before realize I put up a topic, and I just kind of pick through what people want and sort of adjust it as it goes on so that it's worth more to you guys, you know? Like marketing. You want to learn some really good NLP marketing? Go home and read your shampoo bottle. Classic NLP. Everything is written on it. Totally in the language. So, what I'm going to teach you guys, based on all this, is the critical path of influence. A 6-stage process, which basically, if you ever get in a situation and you don't know what to implement, you just implement these 6 steps that I'm going to give you, and you pretty much have all the influence you ever wanted in your life. It's the one thing missing from NLP. Sorry. And most Ericksonian forms of hypnosis. Basically, they all tell you to get into rapport and get confusing. And people wonder why they get thrown out of the boardroom and everywhere else, because the other side doesn't understand it. So all of these things have been honed in the real world and a lot of hostile situations. And then I take this stuff back to the office and I use it on clients like every day. Because I'm really lazy. I can't write 40-hour seminars. So I need things to work. So I find things and mix a whole bunch of things together that work in order to get the fastest results for whoever it is I'm working with. My specialty, for a lot of you guys that don't know, is I work with illnesses that have as its root cause repressed emotion. I don't get a lot of smoke cessation or weight loss, in the most part. How many people have ever seen the stuff I do on YouTube? Any of the spinning? No? It's up there. All right. If we have time later, I'm going to let you guys play with that, which is like instant symbolism. But all this stuff I use, like with the spinning and whatnot, to virtually instantly take away virtually anything you can think of that somebody has as an illness, because it all goes back to a root. Okay? I've taken away herpes outbreaks, MS, neurological Lyme's disease, cancer, Hashimoto's. In a matter of minutes, we shrunk tumors like 50% in somebody. That was then verified by the doctors when they did the test, and were very confused when they went in to remove the tumors that suddenly weren't there anymore. So instead, since they already had her open, which is a girl named Kathy who's on the website, she's had been nuked like 37 times and then had these tumors. They already had her open, so since they couldn't do that, they decided to give her a chest augmentation while they were there. because those had been taken out from a previous one, you know, because, okay, now what do we do? Crazy stuff when you get into the operating room, I guess. There's a lot of things that were taught in certain ways with NLP, and that's okay. But we're still doing a lot of things that were discovered like hundreds of years ago and in the same format. And there's a lot of ways with neuroscience that just cut that in half, if not more, and make it a lot more speedy to get the work done, to get someone to have the change, whether it be yourself or somebody you're working on. It doesn't matter whether you come here to work on yourself or have me work on your problems. How many people actually want to go out and do this and work on somebody else? Okay. Okay. We call that SCOS, a special kind of stupid.
Hey, I excel at that.
When you take on other people's stuff, yeah. And it's rewarding if you're not sweating to death in this room. Are they kidding me in here? Huh?
I've told them already 3 times. You've called them.
I know.
I'll go back there.
It's all right. I mean, they're obviously not going to do anything about it right now. Anyway, you guys, if you roll up your sleeves and do the drills we're going to do tonight, you're going to get a lot of it, okay, and be able to make it useful in your own lives very quickly. State control is where it's at. It's not the language. In NLP, there's 31 different languages, okay, and most people have a problem over which language to use, at which point, what time, when can I use it, and they're all useful. They're good to know. But when you combine them with other things, they're even more useful. But the first thing, and the most important thing, is the state, which sounds really strange from a guy teaching conversational hypnosis, huh? You ever try and work with somebody that was using language patterns on you, and you just knew it was just bullshit and wasn't going anywhere? Okay? That's because their state was wrong. All right? It has nothing to do with the pattern. It's just their state. So the first thing you have to do is just completely get your state into place. You ever try and set an anchor on somebody, then go back and refire it and it doesn't work?
I never have.
No?
No.
Anybody? Everybody? Everybody? No? What an anchor is?
Yeah, I don't know what one time I was on a boat and I threw the anchor out and the rope wasn't attached to the boat and I lost the anchor, but that kind of stunk.
It's very similar to that, yeah.
It kind of stunk.
That's great.
True story. It really did stink.
Anchors get set in you through advertising and through everything. Okay? Like in a song, you know, think of your favorite song. That's anchored to you. Or one that marketing does, like fat kids, skinny kids, kids who eat a lot. You know, everybody knows that song. It's completely anchored into your system. They spent millions of dollars doing it, but it's already there. And you can set anchors into people for whatever reason, okay, to help them to whatever it is. Everybody look at Rebecca. Rebecca, say my name.
Steve.
It's an anchor that'll fire every single time, okay? But if you have the state right when you set the anchor, that anchor will fire every time, okay? Because it's going to go back and put them in the same place it was when you set the anchor. Make sense?
So, can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
So an anchor is, what exactly? I mean, obviously it's a song that relates to a specific product, but just so that we're all clear, what is an anchor?
So I was at a UPW event with Tony Robbins, okay? And all of this craziness and all of this euphoric feelings of bliss while I was there. Steve comes up and lays this anchor on me, like say my name, so that whenever I do it, like I instantly go back to that point in time where I'm at the Tony Robbins event.
So is
It's
that why
like-
you laughed like that?
Yeah,
Kinda
because
got-
I'm like right there, in the middle of day 3.
And you have those that were set by Tony.
So is that like Pavlov's dog?
Okay.
When you hear the-
Make you move.
And they salivate?
Make it move.
Right?
Make it move. How do you feel? That anchor was set by Tony like 19 years ago. Okay? Because his state was right when he put it in you. You can instantly feel it. Okay? And anybody else that's been to an event suddenly feels it coming onto them too, like I do, because just from those 3 words. Okay? Those are anchors. They do it all the time in advertising, all kinds of places. Yes, sir. Who are you? Hello, David. Welcome.
I know about that one, but wasn't it like another anchor where you could say if you want to be like confident in music, like you could anchor in never mind. That was a different word. It was
Subliminal?
Huh?
Subliminal?
No, not subliminal, but like if you want to say if you were doing a speech and not that good at speeches, you'll like model yourself after like Obama or something like that, and then you'll like snap some stuff. I read a book. I read a NLP like that.
Yeah, you can do, there's a lot of ways to be able to do that. I mean, I have a process that I take people through where I take them to an island, which has 100,000 androids, and the androids are all people in the world that have different characteristics and different properties that you can use or borrow in your life. Okay? And they're willing to share them with you. And it doesn't matter who it is. It could be Obama who's in there. And boom, just hand it off to you.
That's something different, though, right?
A little bit different, yeah, than an anchor. Anchors are you can set them to stop people from having reactions, to keep them calm when they tend to get mad. I mean, there's all sorts of uses for anchors. Yeah.
I remember that when, like when somebody's at a funeral,
Mhm.
And they're so everybody's coming up and saying, it'll be okay, it'll be okay, it'll be okay, because they're in that highly emotional state,
Mhm.
and patting them on the back. Then, 2 months go by, and they're okay, they're over the person who passed, and somebody comes up and says, hey, John, how are you? And takes them right back to that.
Absolutely.
That's an anchor, yeah.
Absolutely. It's an anchor that's set. If people are upset, try not to coddle them. Try not to pat them, because you will set anchors in places in their body. There was a girl, Dee, that I worked on at some event, because she would get to a certain point in relationships with people, and she would get upset, and somebody would put their arm around her, and they would pat her on the back, which would set off an anchor from her father. I think it was her father, who would do that. And immediately, boom, she'd snap and break up with them, and that'd be the end of it, because that anchor was so powerful. So yeah, especially with kids, you need to be careful with how you work with them, because you are setting anchors, consciously or unconsciously. And people, depending on where they were in their life, with what happened, will have them in different parts of their body. You may know of some that you have. If somebody touches you in the wrong place, even though you could be feeling absolutely fine, you go the other way. Or for no conscious reason, okay, they touch you and your mood changes to very positive, and you can't figure out why, because you don't even know this person. They just randomly touched you in this place. And that all has to do with anchors that were set somewhere.
That's so great, I just thought of a few.
Yeah, me too.
And I've known about anchoring, but just right now.
And I didn't know about anchoring. Now I know. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, right.
That explains it.
That explains when I hear the ice rattling in the glass and I get upset. I know the person's drinking on the
Very
other
true.
end of the phone, and I'm going to get off the phone because the conversation probably won't be so pleasant after a little bit.
See? Stuff works, doesn't it? Your human nervous system is holographic. It's a holographic processing network. Okay, everything that happens around you is all part of it. You start recording from the first day on the first cell in your subconscious. Doesn't make any sense at that point, but it's all being recorded throughout life. Okay? So when you set an anchor, there's a state that you're in and a state that the other person's in. And those two come together through rapport and synchronicity. And then you set it. And it all becomes what part of what's going to re-trigger that state again in the future. Okay? And if your state is right when you set it, okay, and you're in rapport with the person when you do it, and you just simply look at somebody and go, say my name.
Safe.
And it will fire every single time. And she will go right back to UPW from 2 years ago. If what?
She had an anchor of somebody else saying that to her before you said it. Like, what that
That had my name in it?
that phrase, say my name.
Yeah.
How do you,
She would probably have a different reaction. Like if you set an anchor, say my name with yours, it would be with what was at that point and what you were setting. It would not be the same reaction.
how do you like audible? How do you like if you like see that it's like once you set up anchor? How do you just create another anchor?
You have to get rid of the anchor that was there to begin with if you wanted to change it. And some people have very powerful anchors that are very difficult to get rid of. But if you want to set one in the same place or for the same reason, all right, that's powerful to you, you have to first get rid of the anchor that was already set. Like if someone has one that's on their back from being patted, all right, and they immediately change their entire mood and want to change their relationship because they're getting patted, okay? First thing you have to do is take that one out. That takes more work. We're not going to do that tonight. But stick around. We will eventually. So when we talk about state control, we're really talking about the ability to tap into a level of synchronicity and vibrational energy, and actually that was actually developed in the womb when you were in your mother. It's not really a language you have to learn. You already know it. You just sort of have to come back to understanding what it is. It's a level of nonverbal preconscious processing that causes people's emotional states to shift the emotional filters in such a way that they become predisposed to only focusing on the aspects of the communication that reinforce the message that you're trying to send. Got all that? Not something you're normally going to hear in an NLP talk, okay? It comes from advanced neuroscience. Anybody know who Paul Ekman is? No? He's worth studying. Paul Ekman is a leading authority on emotions and facial expressions. Paul Ekman. E-C-K-M-A-N, I think. But I spell shit with 2 O's, so anything's possible. Yeah, his book was Emotions Revealed, where he talks about the emotional refractory period. And what he discovered in his studies is that emotions have a life, and they wish to continue. And you do not realize that you're having an emotional shift until time has already gone by, and then you realize you're mad. You don't get like a 10-second warning. Warning, warning, warning. You're about to get pissed off. You don't have that. You'll see it after it's already happened. So most people didn't realize, nobody really realized until recently, that that state wants to live. It wants to continue. It wants to find things that will refire itself and keep you in that level. All emotions are trance states. The higher the neurological arousal, the faster the consciousness is going to check out. All right? Make sense?
The higher, makes sense to you?
Oh, my bad. I was
That's because you were both. You came in educated. Unlike me. Could you say it one more time, please? The higher the
Neurological level.
neurological level.
Yeah, the faster your consciousness will check out.
Check
The more
out.
you're aroused within your mind, whatever it is, okay, the faster your consciousness will check out of everything else and just concentrate on that.
Okay, yes.
Okay? All of hypnosis is a process of two factors in it: absorption in the experience and a continued narrowing of focus with the person you're talking to. Has anybody here ever been a little child? Little kid? You guys, you were born in a test tube, yes. Were you a little kid?
Of course.
You were?
Still am.
Good, okay.
Still a little kid.
So when you went out to play, and you went out to play pretend when you were like 5 years old, you were a tomboy, a tomgirl, what'd you do?
Tomboy, definitely.
Tomboy? And what'd you play?
Football, climbing trees, bike riding, rolling dirt, you name it.
Okay, and when you got into pretending that you were a character and playing with friends, were you playing like war? Were you at tea parties? Were you Wonder Woman?
It varied. You know what? This is the only time where I wasn't a tomboy, but I would always like reenact soap operas because I really wanted to be in a soap opera.
Okay.
So I was always like this character from a soap opera,
All right.
which is not very tomboyish, but that's what I did.
Which character from which soap opera? I'm just
They were all
curious now.
Mexican
Okay.
soap operas from back in the day, so it was all in Spanish.
And did you have your friends play along with you at that?
Oh yeah, I ran a whole like Hollywood production.
You
and
ha-
made everybody be like the different characters and yeah.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
And they all got into it?
Yeah.
Okay. And you were sound asleep when you did this?
Was they sound asleep?
Yeah.
Not that I know of.
No.
That was pretty
You were just fully absorbed in it, right? What'd you play at?
For me,
Yeah.
all alone in my room with like, what's that, like action figures?
Action figures?
Yeah, I used to play with action figures, like I was acting out like
So when you got into it, which action figure were you? Which one did you become?
I was like the director.
You were the director? You never became one?
I was like Spider-Man. Did I become it?
Yeah.
And I was like just like the, I guess the, I don't want to say like the hustling guy. I was like just like witnessing the stuff happen, like whatever was happening.
Okay. So you got fully absorbed in the story that you were creating between all of the little figures? Okay. And at which part did you realize that wasn't real? When you were doing that, when you were playing that, when did you realize that wasn't really real?
Didn't really think about that.
Hmm?
I didn't really think it was really not. I just was like, I don't know. I used to jump off things too. I used to be a little daredevil. I used to jump off like the slides or like the swings.
Off the swings? Were you flying?
Thought it was.
Yeah? Okay. Cool. And so when you were flying, you could fly. You could go forever, right?
Yeah.
Right? And that was only, what, 3 seconds before your feet hit the ground? Okay? If you can do that, ladies and gentlemen, you can get anything you want. All you have to be is fully absorbed into the situation, just like you were when you were a little kid. Okay? Hypnosis is just the bypass of the critical factor and the establishment of selective thinking. Ouch. We talk about the process of the absorption, and the focus is different from the one that we're currently in. You guys go through life in trance. You're always in trance. Okay? Yes. Okay? You're in your own trance now. Okay? And by doing this, or working with somebody to work on a problem or change something, or talk to them about buying something if you're in sales or marketing, okay? All you're doing is taking them from the trance they're in to the trance that you want them to be in. That will be much better for them. What is much better for them? Is usually whatever it is you want them to do. It's the same thing you try and do every day in sales. But most people are taught how to do that the hard way, the old way. Okay? Huh?
As with a baseball bat?
With a baseball bat, really. Yeah, it's pretty much. So going back to the emotional refractory period, you experience a shift in the emotions, and there's a change in the neurological arousal in your body. Whatever state your brain tries to maintain, your unconscious mind begins to shift with its perceptual filters. It begins to parse all of the rest of the information in your environment in such a way that it re-triggers or reactivates, all right, that specific state again. Anybody here ever buy a new car? You did all the research, the perfect car. You went through it. You picked out the color. You picked out the options. You picked out the wheels. You picked out everything about it, correct? You went to the dealer. You got the car. You turned on the radio. You checked your mirrors. You drove to the first light. And every motherfucker in the world had the same goddamn car when you got there. How'd that happen? Your unconscious mind was sensitized to that information. So all it's picking up is that car that everybody else bought. You no longer care about anything else in the world. The emotional refractory period in action. You ever been in a fight with somebody? Boyfriend? Girlfriend? Yeah? And you go through this fight. You fight, you fight, you fight. And then you get to the end of the fight and it's all done. It's all fixed. Everything is good, correct? Or so you think. And for the next 10 minutes, no matter what you say, this motherfucker just goes off on you every time. Just by saying hello. The fight continues and it gets refired and refired and refired. Huh? What?
No, Dad, I'm so sorry.
You had a thought. Spit it out.
I won't say it. I just will not.
Welcome to the world of the emotional refractory period. All right? Your conscious mind does not ask permission, does not give you a warning. It simply shifts your conscious attention and will have you focus on the elements, the context, the environment that will re-trigger that state. So, how do you use this on a practical level?
So sorry.
Well, it's very simple. When you start understanding basic NLP rapport and you start building on it, if you understand how to entrain your nervous system, you know what I mean by entrain? You guys ever see like, there's a whole bunch of videos about metronomes on the internet. Anybody ever watch them? Yeah, little music things. All right, I'm the only dork that ever watched that. So they take like 30, 40, 100 metronomes, okay? And they start them all up at different points, okay? And within 4 minutes, they will all be totally entrained and beating together. All right? Mm-hmm. Same thing with people. Okay? That's just physics. And the things I'm going to teach you are as reliable as the laws of physics. As long as you can just keep your mind out of the way. You want to be a super powerful hypnotist? Learn to control your state. It's 80% of everything you do. Okay? And all the rest of it is pretty meaningless. If you want to find the science behind all of it, just go to heartmath.org. Okay? So everything I'm telling you tonight is all backed up with science, and they have a ton of it. Okay? And we have this much time for like that much information. So, huh? Heartmath.org. Heartmath. Because beating heart.
Yeah, I heard hard first.
Yeah.
Hard math.
I heard.
That's what I heard.
I'm not going to say a word about you two coming up with that same thought, okay?
That's what he said.
Your heart is the biggest, most powerful rhythmic source in your body. It radiates an energy field 8 feet in diameter that can be measured by instruments. okay? And it interacts with the proprioceptive nervous system in the human beings all around you, all right? And they sync, right? Just total synchronicity. And whenever that happens, you feel that the other person starts pre-consciously, okay? You don't have to say a word. If you've ever been in a relationship and you're watching a movie, okay, and you're sitting there watching a movie eating popcorn, you start to realize at some point that you're both breathing at exactly the same rate. And if you went farther, that your heart would actually be beating at the same rate. Okay.
You walk, you end up in step with the person too.
Mm-hmm. Same thing. Just things you can't argue with. And it doesn't matter whether you're consciously intending to or not. It's going to happen with the other person. If you walk into a room of people that are in a fairly decent mood and you are just absolutely pissed off at whatever it is that happened, okay, even though you're not intending to it, you're going to change the attitude of the people around you, the closest ones. All right? And that can be for good as well, which is a lot of fun to do, is changing people's attitudes that are pissed to a really good feeling, and they have no idea why they're doing it. They just, like, what happened? I was mad a minute ago. For most of us, that process just happens randomly, and we're not conscious about it. But you guys are here tonight because I assume you want to take the randomness out of your lives and the randomness out of your conversation. So the things we want are the quickest, easiest, most satisfying way to do that. Yes?
Yes.
That's where the enthusiastic yes comes in, guys. So when we talk about state control, it's not about pretending. Pretending works, but there's a lot more powerful ways to do that stuff. If you want to be really good at hypnosis, all you have to do is be really good at state control. When I work with clients and teaching them this stuff, the first day, I never get into language patterns at all. All right? It's just strictly state control, changing their state. And they learn some very intense state control drills. All right? Where basically I take all the states and they jump like you're skipping rocks. All right? From one state to the next until you can get to every one at the snap of a finger. Because when your state's right, and most of us worry about the right words to say, how to say them, and everything else, the words don't matter, okay? If your state's right, everything from your reptilian brain all the way up completely changes, all right? You could recite the alphabet to somebody if your state is right, and you could get the outcome that you want. Has nothing to do with the words. Does that make sense? No? Well, you're going to do it right now. So, everybody stand up. First thing I want you to do is just close your eyes, take a deep breath in, let it out with a moan. And find a feeling, a picture inside of a time when you were really happy, you were really successful, you were able to get something that you went after. You got the brass ring. Okay? It was absolute best. You accomplished it. And then breathe the way you were breathing. Stand the way you were standing at that exact moment. Everybody got it? Okay, now just let your chest down a little bit. Bend your head a little bit. Let your chest down a little bit. Kind of like you were in a more depressed stance. And from there, try to feel good. And notice what happens instead. Now just pick yourself back up into where you were feeling really, really powerful. Everything was great. You had accomplished it. And try and feel bad and notice what happens instead. And then hold that feeling of being absolutely powerful. And just hold it. And pull your chest up and just hold it. Feel it all the way through your body. Congratulations, you have just changed your state. Give yourself a hand. Have a seat. What'd you learn?
It's absolutely possible to, for me at least, to, when I'm in a poor state of posture, to have a good feeling and vice versa.
Yes, and do you know why most people are not happy all the time?
Because of shit posture. They're walking around drooping.
Well, that shit posture was created because that posture of being depressed is the same posture you have when you're working on a computer or sitting at a desk. So if you spend most of your time at a desk, all right, your body is predisposed to go into that. So if you spend a lot of time doing that, you need to be up more often. If you're on a phone a lot, the angle which way you hold the phone, all right, will do the same thing to you.
I'm sorry, my kids are like blowing up my phone tonight.
It's vibrating.
I keep trying.
Feature on the side.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, you guys.
There's a study too where
Where like they took people that weren't like. I'll show you how to do it.
What now?
okay, it's a
Yeah,
study where
you
the
wanna do it for
scientists
me?
took, they made a study and they took a group of people and they like basically proved that if you just like look in the mirror and smile even if you're not happy,
Fingers on the side,
after a while you become happy.
I have it, right?
Just push that
Yes,
finger,
absolutely.
stops.
If you have one person that just busts out totally laughing loud for no reason, can affect everyone else because proprioceptively is going to go through, and you're going to start merging that way. Yeah, which makes this so much fun. Willpower is the weakest part of you, and it's based on two elements: the amount of glucose that you have in the system, and the amount of sleep you get. Okay. And what? Yes. Well, the chocolate lets out, all right, that chemical in your body, which just helps you to learn faster. Okay? All the stuff is going in right now, and eventually it would just all sort through and be useful to you in little parts whenever it comes up that you think you need it without taking a whole bunch of notes. And the more chocolate that you eat, the faster that'll happen. It's in the back. It's over there. Knock yourself out. And if you want to do the research on that with the willpower, is in a book called Willpower by Roy Baumeister. Yeah. So willpower is the junk food of the mind. It's a constant worry with people in hypnosis that are going to do things against people's wills, okay? But most people have no willpower to begin with because they don't exercise any part of it, okay? They don't get enough sleep, they don't have enough glucose, therefore they have no willpower to begin with, okay? And the moment that their nervous system gets aroused, whatever critical factor they have just checks out. And they instantly go into a trance in another place. How much willpower do you have? Not. All right, so what we want to do...
Yeah, how about, like, I have great willpower when it comes to being healthy or eating what I have to eat or, you know, doing that stuff, but when it comes to opening my mouth and I sit there and say, don't say it, don't say it, don't say it, and then it comes out, like, I have no willpower of controlling my emotions and I'm telling myself, say it, don't say it, don't say it, and then
You say it.
closest words come out, and yeah, I don't have willpower over my words, but I do, like, over, you know, if I want to quit drinking, or if I, you know,
Okay.
dietary, you know what I mean? Like, I'm very good at, I'm not gonna eat the cake, I won't eat the cake, you know, or, but if, as far as, like, hurting.
Glue close and sleep.
But still, why is it one area and not the other?
Well, because you're spending a lot of time thinking about the one area because you had no willpower. That whole scenario is running through your subconscious all the time. most people think that consciously is who they are. They're not, okay? And everything about you is running in your subconscious level, okay?
It's more your ego always talking to you than who you really are.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So,
So what about these guys, it's real popular now to do these ketogenic diets, all these super successful people are doing it, eating fat, high fat, moderate protein, very low carbohydrate.
I don't know if that
In
knows.
essence, are they not, they're not getting a lot of glucose, so. are they
where does the glucose come from?
Carbohydrates, sugar?
Okay?
Right.
But when they break down the fat, they're also getting glucose out of that as well.
So the fat gets mobilized.
Yeah, when you start breaking down into the system. Yeah. And then it comes on to the sleep. You know, how much sleep do you get in there?
6.5 hours is my magic.
6.5? Okay.
But to always get that.
Your body will let you know how much you need.
No, but you're right, when I'm tired or whatever, I'll be like,
Yeah.
I'll use that as an excuse to like, I'm tired, I can eat this shit today, or I'll, do these bad things.
Because you have no willpower anymore. You're just totally drained of it. On the best days, you know, if you have like 100 units of willpower, okay, when you get up in the morning and you're fully rested, okay, you have kids? Okay. Well, if you have kids, that's like 25 gone because they're running around, they're doing all kinds of things, you're trying to get them off to school, okay? Or if you have a partner, you have to deal with that before you go out the door. And then you go out in this traffic and you start burning them up, okay? And then you go in and you got to listen to the boss. And boom, there goes another 10 units, all right? And then you come back home and there's more traffic and you're burning them all up. By the time you walk in the door, you have zero willpower, okay? And that's when you come back in. It's usually when the two clash, when you're in a relationship, because you're both completely out of willpower. Okay, you've burned up every unit that you have at that point. Not because you want to fight, but because you've burned it all up. You know? So you add it to the diet. Take a nap during the day. Take a power nap. When you get tired, take a power nap. All right? I sleep 4 hours a day, maybe. Okay? Because it was a guy, Joseph, who's Tony's number 2, who sat there and did the math for me one day. You know, if you sleep 8 hours, da-da-da-da-da. If you only sleep 4 hours, 4 hours times 7, times 5 weeks in an average month, da-da-da-da-da-da, and started doing the math. So when you do the math, when it's all over, which I don't have in my head right now, you end up with an additional 27 years in the same period of time. And I'm like, I want that. And I consciously said, I want that. And from that day forward, I virtually sleep like 4 hours. There are times, yeah, I'll get tired because of doing so many things. And I'll just lay down and take a nap. And it'll start again, you know, and there'll be like 20-minute, half hour nap, ping. Get up and you're full and ready to go.
My naps are usually like hours.
It's not hours, that's just sleep.
Is that not you more groggy? Like if I sleep too long in the afternoon, I'm like an hour and a half of groggy.
I
When
don't
wake
know.
up.
I'm like on the
I need, like,
couch
power.
with the cover up.
10,
Like,
20 minutes.
Where the
2
sleep
hours,
cycle,
man.
You wake up at.
I guess so.
Make you have-
Yeah.
Well, you can control the amount of time you sleep. You can set the clock in your subconscious to sleep for X amount of time and wake you up with a little bit of practice, which we used to do in a lot of events. So you can set it for like 15 minutes and you'll wake up totally refreshed because you've already put that into your subconscious that you're going to wake up totally refreshed.
You know, I've tried to do that before. Like if I was going to the airport, well, I'm going to wake up at this time. And I find myself waking up constantly, checking the clock. Is it that time?
Well, yeah, but
It doesn't really work for me.
before you have to get up to go to the airport, you know, you do that and you practice it a little bit ahead of time with your subconscious. Now you're just trying to see whether or not you're right. Do that practice part beforehand, and you realize that you are like within 5 seconds. There's a much better clock than any other one you have in the house, especially my house. Every clock in my house has a different time. So now the ones that were wrong yesterday or the day before are now correct because, daylight savings time has changed. That just really doesn't matter. Huh? Run that.
It's man-made, like calendars, clocks, like hours and all that stuff, setting back time and all that stuff. You're saying, with your body, what you're trying to like wake up from inside.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you still need clocks because there's appointments and things you have to do. All right? You can't be totally out there. Although I'd like to be because I don't understand why everything's closed at 3 o'clock in the morning when I'm up, But you guys send me off on these squirrels. I forget where I was going. Thanks. I don't have any, thank you.
10-minute power nap.
So it's the meta elements in your communication that actually drive your hypnotic ability with other people. Okay? Not the language patterns. It's your body movement. Okay? It's your breathing. It's that whole 9 yards. The language patterns are just icing on the cake. You don't ever need to learn language patterns in NLP to be really good at it. If you have state control, okay, you have 80% of it already. All right? Trances have different dynamics to them based on your states. And your job, like we said before, is not to get people in trance, but to take them from the trance that they're in to the one that's most useful to get the outcome. Right? Hopefully, if you're ethical. The secret is dovetailing what you want in connection with what they want. Piece of cake, right? When you're controlling an emotional state, there's 2 ways that most people go about it. One is what we were talking about with doing the willpower into certain states, but most of the time that'll last until the next time the squirrel goes by. But if you practice what we're going to do now, you learn how to change it very quickly. Okay? So you guys stand up for a second. And a lot of this was all from a woman, Amanda Cuddy, who was on a TED Talks. Okay? And what she had people do, basically, is stand in victory poses. Okay? Just stand in victory pose for as little as 2 minutes and just hold that pose. Okay? Huh? Whatever it is, if that's your victory pose. She's got ones like that. She has the ones like doing the Wonder Woman pose. And then the gorilla pose on the desk. Beating your chest, and hold that for 2 minutes. Just hold it and notice how it starts to feel different. What they also found is just by holding that for 2 minutes, your testosterone raises by 25%. Okay? Does that sound like something that would be useful if you're in sales? Is that what you do when you're victorious? Well, there you go. That's fine. And the longer you hold it, okay, the more you feel it. If you have a meeting, you're going in for a job, okay, or you have a meeting for a sales, or you want to influence somebody to buy your product, all right, duck out into a bathroom, because doing this in the public streets would have a lot of people look at you strange, and hold it for 2 minutes, and you will completely change just by the testosterone in your body, which is very helpful when you're doing sales or you're influencing people. How's it feeling?
My shoulders are hurting.
Aw, really? You can do the Wonder Woman pose.
Thanks. Probably work better for me.
And how's it feel?
Pretty good.
Pretty good? Feel a difference from before you stood up and did it? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, look at her. Yeah, I do. Yeah. Go ahead and kick ass right now. Boom.
My muscles feel like they're getting a little, work out. Feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. All right, have a seat. Feel good. Is that pose, doing that will change it, and changing your physiology is the quickest way to change any state that you want to go to that you're in, from where you're in. I'm losing it today. So if you guys are going to go present something to a CEO, okay, or somebody else along the way, and your state is in your shoes, walking into the room, you're already done. The first step in a critical path of influence is to control your state, okay? I actually brought it this time. Usually I just make it up that I have one. Okay, number 2 is rapport. And if I spell it wrong, don't say anything because I can't spell.
That's 2 of 6.
2 of 6. Shit, there's a lot, huh?
No, I just
There's 6 steps, and basically the 2 are the most important.
portion my sheets.
Sorry, do you need another piece of paper? Okay, in the world according to me, rapport has 3 categories. Rapport is a state of being in sync with somebody, not necessarily a feeling of liking them, just being in sync, synchronicity. Second way, there's the information that goes from you to them, and any information that comes from them to you. Okay? Conscious mind is the least to know, is the least informed and the last to know. Write that down.
Conscious mind is a what?
Least informed and the last to know.
Conscious, that's part of rapport?
Yes. By the time the information that you get reaches your conscious awareness, it has also already gone through 2 levels of your brain and an uncountable number of filters before it gets to your conscious mind. Uncountable. That's a lot. In NLP, we talk about how all information is deleted, distorted, or generalized when it goes into your system. And it has a very big generalization with all this filtering that goes on and what you pay attention to in life.
The least informed and the last to know.
Least informed and the last to know.
I wrote conscious mind is the first to know, is the least
Informed
Least informed.
and the last to know.
Thank you, least informed.
And the last to know.
You need a nap.
I need some chocolate.
Most of us think that we think in terms of facts and data and figures and all that blah, blah, blah. It's not true. Sorry. You guys know that you have 3 brains, right? No, just 3. And that's too much for some people.
3 brains?
3 brains. 3 brains.
I thought every energy center was a brain.
Well, that's an energy center around it, but that's not the actual brains that you have. In the very center of the brain, you have the paleocortex, which is the oldest part of your brain, which is your lizard brain. Okay, it's what deals in the primal drive. All right, lawyers use it to influence juries and judges and receive massive settlements. This can all be found in a book called Reptile. All right, if you're not familiar with it, get it. It's about $700 a copy used, and it's worth every penny of it. It talks about how to present to the reptilian brain, and it's really expensive and powerful, but when you understand all the concepts that are in that book, you understand exactly how to present to the brain. Presenting to the brain is easy. Okay? All I have to say is boobies. And you all smile, and I get another 20 minutes of attention because that's your reptile brain that just kicked in. Hi, welcome back. If you can't afford that book, there's another book not quite as good called Pitch Anything by Oren Klaff, which was used to present million-dollar deals to venture capitalists. And it's all about frame control and talking about the reptilian brain. And there's a saying in that book, well, going back to reptile, that goes something like this. I am the reptile. I do not get angry. I make you angry so that you do what I want. And there's a whole bunch after that. And it just talks primarily how to speak to it. For reptile, Oren Klaff, C-L-A-F-F. His is really good with frame controls and understanding frames. But with the reptile, then you go into your limbic system, and then I tweak your perceptual filters and your emotions so that the things you consciously and unconsciously pay attention to force the actions that I want you to take. And then I activate your neocortex, which is your rationalizing brain, okay? To give you any facts or figures that I think that need to be put on top of it. It's that part of your brain that generates the reason of why you think you're doing what you're doing, which doesn't necessarily have to be true. Okay, because that shit will just make things up day in and day out. Okay, it's there to protect you. You get pulled over by a cop. You ever tell a cop something that's an incredible story, and then you think back and go, why the fuck did I say that? It's there to protect you. It's there to protect you from whatever it takes to protect you. It doesn't have to be true at all. We talk about resistance in hypnosis. Resistance has three major sources. Comes from anything we perceive as a threat to ourselves, as it threatens how we see, how others see ourselves, okay? And then, of course, if it actually threatens us.
Of course, what?
If it actually threatens us physically. So, if you want to write marketing copy, oh, hi, welcome back.
I told you, my kids are like blowing up my phone. I'm so sorry.
I can fix that. Put it here under this boot. You might want to write it using yourself in XYZ. How you see yourself in XYZ. In what you're doing. In your new venture. How you see it. How you see it becoming. What it's going to be in the future. So that when you're writing it out, you're writing it in that format. If you do that, not only in marketing, but more powerful and more at peace. And other people will notice it, and they'll be amazed at how quickly it changes your whole life. And you'll be amazed because you will know from where you started from. A little light bulb just went off, didn't it? But if you notice, when I first started talking to her about it, you all started filling in your own details and finding elements in your own life when those things were true. And that's called being specifically vague. You filled in all of the details of your own life into that experience, and that's called a trance. And if I create a vessel for you to fill in your own words or your own meaning, your resistance goes away. And if I can just fill these things in, just let that percolate through the evening. You can do the same thing with other people. Okay? Which is the basic process of the communication that we want to start working with when you communicate from the meat suit through the body all the way to the limbic system and the emotion. And then ultimately top it off with whatever facts and figures. And if you do it right, you don't need very many facts and figures. Okay? Because all of it will have already engaged the process. And you'll need very little factual material, which makes the whole sales process or convincing someone process much easier because you don't have to be so concerned with all of it. Yes, it's all relevant, but you really don't need it. Got it? Guys, easy? Piece of cake, right? The more emotions that are engaged, the deeper the trance is. And what you need is a way to get them focused and absorbed. And the fastest way to do that is by bringing out what's important to them emotionally. In NLP, we call it criterion values. Anybody here not know what I mean by criterion values?
Criterion values. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Well, each of us like to think that we have an identity, but in actuality, we have multiple identities. All right? And those are the building blocks. The building blocks for those identities, all right, are your criterion values. The things that you hold most dearly to yourself. That's what makes it up. Okay? And there's a checklist for each of those. There's a label and a feeling, and they all have values and a checklist. And there's a checklist that I see when I'm going through them that lets me know when I'm getting to them. Okay? And when you tap into someone's emotions and values, they go into a profound state of trance. And they experience extreme pleasure. Right? So, what brought you out here tonight?
Me?
Yeah.
Everything you've been talking about, I wanted to learn about state management.
But as it relates to you, what did you want to do with state management to make your life better?
I want to be able to utilize all the tools that I've accumulated and apply them in my life so that I don't stay in poor physiology or poor state, or in a funky state, if you will. Because that's where I spend a lot of my time.
So you want to use them all to be in a good state. And when you start using them all to be in a good state, what will that do for you? What benefit will that have for you?
I get everything done I need to do.
Get everything done? See the emotion come out? Boom. That's what you're driving after. Okay? And you immediately know what words, what it is, all right, that you can use.
He also his posture got better all of a sudden.
Yeah, immediately sits up because now you're into his criterion values because my life's going to be fucking good, dude. What do you think?
My life's gonna be amazing.
Everything else he said was pretty well meaningless. But now you're into the criterion value. You're into his buzzwords. Okay? And if you can tap those values, all right, they will start volunteering more and more information. They can't stop it. Okay? At that point, we could have let him go. And he would sit there and convince me that he was correct by telling me all of the reasons that this was going to be good for him. I probably should have let you go a little bit farther, but and how you want to do that is the words that come out of a person's mouth are the most perfect words to their nervous system. All right, they have a direct pipeline to that value. Okay, so what was his word? Was it?
State.
Well, what was his word where he really got going?
I get everything I want. I
Get things done.
Get things done, get everything you want. What was your word?
Accomplish?
Accomplish? Okay.
I heard you say that. Did you say that?
I actually thought accomplish myself, I didn't say that,
thought-
but
I
I
thought-
did, but
Well, if I didn't say it, that's what I was thinking.
Okay. The biggest thing you can do for any of this is start paying a whole lot more attention to what people say to you. Okay? Because they will give you absolutely everything that you need. You just have to be aware of it and be able to see the signs and which words are the ones that are going to bring it out. Okay? Because if I can explain my experience using his keywords, okay, he'll go into a profound state of trance, okay, feel totally connected to me, and he'll understand me better, all right, and he'll think I understand him better than anybody he's ever met, which is totally ethical. I mean, that's what you're trying to do haphazardly every time you have a conversation with somebody, all right?
That establishes immediate rapport.
Absolutely. All right, you get immediate rapport because if I'm echoing back the words that you're using, those are the most perfect words to your system, okay? And just by doing that, you're going to create a lifelong client, a lifelong friend, or a lifelong lover.
It happens naturally anyway.
Huh?
It happens naturally anyway. Like you're in like an echo chamber when you're out, like you said, at the mall or something, and you say something and you hear somebody over there say the same thing. Like, you know, that happens naturally.
Well, yeah, a lot of it is haphazardly. But if you're conscious about what you're doing when you're having a conversation with people, and you keep taking it, which we'll get into, and narrowing the focus down, and just using their keywords to whatever story you're using for yourself, okay? They're going to be totally locked in. They will pretty much do whatever it is you want to do.
They want to do it. They think I feel like.
No, they will pretty much do whatever you want to do, because you are explaining your story with their keywords. So to them, your story now sounds 100% to them. There's no resistance to it. Okay? Yeah, we went through a lot of that. Just like move through the world making people feel really good. If you want to go in and have meetings with people for whatever reason, whether you're doing sales, now that just goes all the way through frame control. You guys have any questions? As I figure out where the hell I'm going next.
You want to hear like hypnotist, like that?
The what?
Everybody's just okay.
We're all just average Joes.
Where are you?
I'm a producer slash rebel.
Slash rebel?
What kind of rebel?
Rebellion rebel.
A rebellion rebel.
I'm a punk. I'm a punk rebel.
What do you rebel against?
The normal.
The norm. Well, you're in the wrong place if you think this is the norm. I said you're in the wrong place if you think this is the norm.
I'm not rebelling against this place.
Oh, okay. Cool. Frame control. For you NLP people. You know what I mean when I say frame control?
Someone.
Good. Take your best shot.
Well, I know it's important when you're talking to a woman because a woman tries to control the frame and tests you by taking you out of your frame. And if you can hold your frame, she will submit to you.
Wow.
I love how all of
There's
us are
not
like,
much science when we talk to you? Serious?
That's serious. I'm not.
You better come see me on the side, too.
How do you do that?
Think of a frame as moving through the world, and you're the writer, the director, the star of the movie. Okay? And you get to decide who the star is, who the protagonist is, what the plot line is. That's a frame. All right? And as long as everybody plays their role, life is fine. It goes on until somebody jumps and changes what their role is that you created in the frame. All right? And anytime two or more people get together, there's a clash for who's going to control the frame. But you have to know what frame you want to be in when you go in. Okay? When a guy is going to pick up a girl at a bar who's sitting at the bar, who is usually the dominant? Huh?
Wait, can you repeat that? When the guy goes to pick up a girl
Who's
at
the
the bar?
dominant?
Yeah. In just the scenario of the guy walking up, she's sitting at the bar, who's usually the dominant in the situation?
The guy.
In that frame.
The guy every time.
Yes. Right?
Right, the guy.
Are you sure?
Well, no, the female.
Yeah.
Well, actually, you're wrong. In statute, it's true, but usually women instigate 60% of those through subtle movements that they do that have the guy actually move forward to do it.
Oh, I wasn't sure what you meant. Okay, I thought you meant like who's gonna try to convince who of what, you know? But
Hmm?
Huh.
but so
Once
you're
the guy
saying
opens
the
his
girl
mouth,
wants to get picked up, so she like does something.
Could be. It depends on her frame, but usually when a girl will throw a signal to a guy, guys aren't that smart. Okay? I'm sorry. You know, you could be in a store. A guy could be in a store and he's reading a magazine, okay, in a bookstore of Sports Illustrated, and some girl walks by because she likes him. And she'll get right up next to him. She's not going to say anything. Okay? And the guy will be in the magazine and go, well, that was nice. Wonder what she wanted. And she'll come back through again. And he'll look up and go, well, that was interesting. Wonder what she's doing. And she'll come back a third time, because that's what women do. And then she'll just go loser and walk off. But he'll never notice that she was there the first time, because they'll do that very, very quickly. You'd be surprised.
It's so interesting to like hear what you guys think.
Uh-huh.
Because
You gotta be like
If you don't pick up on it, you lose it.
5
They're not
seconds is
interested
better than
anymore.
5 seconds.
Yes.
I mean,
And guys miss it all the time.
All the time.
Guys do miss
I've
it all
missed
the
it.
time.
In hindsight, I can look back on it and be like, holy shit, it was like all these things.
We got 5 seconds left. That's right.
Yeah. You can't go back the next day and try to rework it.
No,
Sorry.
never see anything too
They're
bad.
not interested anymore.
Whatever frame it is, you can only have one of three positions. Either you're the dominant, you're neutral, or you're submissive. Okay? Interesting is you can go from one to the other within the frame. Okay? Most people don't realize that. That is an art form in itself, which takes a while to learn. And it's hard to do. But if you're, what we do with frames is we link things in our brain, okay, to what we believe. Okay, people that have stature, or people that we're, what's the word I want? Intimidate us. Okay? We have that picture, they're usually bigger than we are in our brain. Yeah? Okay. So think of someone that intimidates you in your life. Think of someone of stature who intimidates you. Okay? And just close your eyes. Picture that person. Okay? And picture yourself and notice the difference in size of the two pictures. Okay? Now reach out with your hand, that picture that you see of the other person, the one who intimidates you. With your hand, just touch that picture with two hands. I just want you to shrink that picture down like you were shrinking down a picture on your iPhone. And notice the difference of how you feel with that person who used to intimidate you. Now increase the size of the picture you have of you. So you're a lot bigger than this person. And go back to the person who intimidates you and shrink that picture down even more. And take that picture and just throw it behind you of the other person. Just throw it behind your head. What happened?
It's completely crushed up.
Other than I just saw a whole room of people going, "Ew, wow, motherfucker's gone. That's where he belongs." Okay? You can do that anytime you want. If you're going to go in to present to a CEO, to a room, you're going to sell. Okay? You have a date with some woman who just totally intimidates you because of looks, whatever the reason is. All right? In the picture of your mind, before you go into that meeting, okay, you just shrink them down and build yourself up. As quickly as you did it right now, okay, you will come in with 100% more confidence in yourself walking into that situation.
How do you do that? Like, if you have that situation, how do you do that without getting, like, coming up and understanding what, like, God's given to everyone here? And then coming down, like, how do you do that without getting, like hypnosis or whatever? You know what I mean?
Well, you're not going to get condescending over it. Just because you're making yourself bigger, you're giving yourself more confidence.
I make them feel smaller, though. Like,
You're not making them feel smaller in your mind, you are. You're taking away the power they have to intimidate you.
okay.
Okay? You were the small one.
Oh, you mean the people that purposely, like, are like, okay.
Okay? You're just, whatever the reason is that you're intimidated to talk to somebody. All right? Maybe it's a woman, maybe it's a boss.
But I'm saying, like, with a woman, like, that,
Can I share something?
Good.
So I played kickball, right? And I played center field. And when the big dudes come up, and you're just kind of out there in the field, like, all alone and shit. And big dudes come up and literally crush the ball, and it's just you out there away. I mean, you're miles away. And I was kickball.
Oh.
Yeah, you use it for any sport, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was, hypnotherapist told me when they come up to the plate, these guys that are intimidating, same thing. You shrink them down, and then you can put like clown music to them,
Yeah,
or like make them look silly in your head. And I'm telling you, it works. Like they came up, I had no
Absolutely.
trepidation in it whatsoever. It's amazing.
Now, if you do that in connection with changing your body, as you were doing before, taking that feeling and making you feel even better, they're going to feel all that proprioceptively through their nervous system when you walk in. They're going to have an instant recognition of your authority, okay, because of the picture you have in your head, okay, and that feeling that you have where you changed your body, okay? They recognize your authority through their nervous system. You haven't even said a fucking word yet,
Right.
okay? That's all in the making before you get there. And you can just throw that out.
Your state's different.
Your state's different. It's all in state.
The confidence.
All right? Those perceptual filters are going to shift, and that first impression is predisposed on them in viewing you as being authoritative. But if you try to do it and your state's not right, you're just out of whack, you're going to be completely incongruent, okay? And you're going to sound like a fucking moron. So rule number one is you have to have your state right. All right? All of this is in the body. And Erickson, who didn't even have a body, Milton Erickson, you guys all know who he is, right? Who came up with all of this. He didn't have a body. He was in a wheelchair. All he had was his eyes.
Oh, you mean that? I think I seen one TED Talks.
Yeah. All he had was his eyes, who came up with all of this material, okay, and was one of the originators with NLP and everything else. All right? You guys have it so much easier because you have the body, okay? He recognized that with the body you can do it. He found this out and was able to do it just with the eyes and recognition of what was going on around him. Just by simply changing your physiology, shrinking those pictures, you have an incredible advantage over everything in your life. State control is 80% of all the persuasion that I do.
Question. So, say public speaking, right?
Mhm.
Even though I've been working at it, right? There's still times I get afraid. So say I have to do a presentation tomorrow, right?
Hmm?
It would be better for me to get into my good state right now while I'm not scared thinking about it, get in the right state, do these things, think about the audience, shrink them down, right, make myself bigger, as opposed to 2 minutes before I go on stage, I'm nervous. Is that what you're saying? Because I know it's not going to work because my state's all...
Well, yeah, you get your state right before you ever get there.
Right.
Okay, you start working on that in the morning when you're going in.
Right.
All right, and then on your way in, okay, now you're getting your state right of how you want to be. Okay, and then you scoot off to the ladies' room and get in a stall, and you're just like this, boom, and now you're. Just wanted to see if you were paying attention. Okay, and now you're building up your testosterone, which means you're going to be even more powerful, right? Now on the way out, you have the vision of what that room looks like, okay, that you go, and you take the picture of you, which is now bigger. Now, how do you feel about that room just by talking about it now?
I'm fine with it.
Okay. And as you increase the size of your picture against the size of the room you're going to talk to, how do you feel? Okay, more empowered. Okay. So now stand up. God, no, just him. Just him. Make him work. Okay. And get that feeling when you had the best speech you ever had, the best talk, when you gave all the information, everybody loved it. Get that feeling. Breathe the way you breathe. Stand the way you stand. Stand the way you stood. Let it all soak in. See that picture of them smaller than you. Okay? Now with all that confidence you have when you walk out on stage, okay? How many people is it? 30 people? Okay, so now with your hands, just go ahead and make a circle around in front of you. Take all that energy and just move it all around in front of you as you go into that room. And however far that goes out in your mind, okay, those people are all within that energy. And if you need to go again bigger, then go again bigger for the rest of the room. Okay? Now what you're doing is you're bringing all of those people proprioceptively into that feeling that you already have. By doing it, you can do it to a single person or an entire room all at once. You're welcome. Proprioceptive. Yes. It's everything you feel around you. Yes. Your proprioceptive nervous system. Okay. And we go into language. Okay. You don't really need language. Okay. You know what pacing and leading is? You guys know what that is? Pacing and leading. Okay, in NLP you have a thing called pacing and leading. Huh? No, it's basically anything that can be said is verified as true. Okay? In other words, you have brown hair. Okay? And now everybody can look around and they know that you have brown hair. Okay? That's a pace. They can see it. They can verify it as true. Okay? You can also do it cognitively. So you're all sitting there having certain thoughts. And the first thing you do when I say that you're all sitting there having certain thoughts is you do a systems check. Oh yeah, I'm having a thought. And if you want to tell me, no, I wasn't having a thought, you did a systems check to find out that you weren't having a thought. So you still had a thought. Okay? Those are ways to pace and lead somebody. And if all I did was to sit here and tell you truisms about the environment, you would go into a profound state of trance and absolute fucking boredom. But you'd be in trance. Okay? And you would lose track completely of when I started telling you things that were true and when I started telling you things that I wanted to do. All right? That was one of Erickson's big things, was just pacing and talking about things in the environment that you could not argue with until your critical path just checked out, and then he put the lead in for whatever it was that he wanted you to go to do. All right? And we get into state management. And there's like a gazillion ways to manage somebody else's state. Okay? And the processes we take and run people through. How many people in here have ever had a goal of writing a book? Is it done?
Absolutely not.
Is it done? Did you raise your hand?
I did.
Is it done?
Yeah, I rewrite it every single day though.
Okay. And how many times have you started over with your book?
It's mostly in my head.
Mostly in your head?
So, an outline of it.
But how many times have you gone over that outline?
Several.
Several? How about you?
I've never rewrote it. I just add to it.
Just add to it?
Yeah.
Okay. Almost all of the time when you don't get the book done, it's because you started from the beginning, right? Start from the end. Start from the end where you know where your outcome is, where you know where you want it to be, and do the book in opposite. Okay, then as you're writing the book, all right, you can set your GPS for how to get to the end of the book. Okay, if you start from the beginning and you write, and then you have another idea and you write, and then it takes you here and takes you here and takes you here. Eventually, can you finish it? Yes. Is it going to be what you initially envisioned and wanted? No, for most people. And then you'll end up going back and starting it again.
You know, this is kind of weird, but it's a tangent, but like, when you go somewhere, you notice that it's like quicker when you go back.
I think that all the time.
Yeah.
Especially because I just moved down here. I don't know anywhere I'm going.
Yeah.
Okay? And so I'm like, God, this is like really far. And then I'm like, oh wow, this is really quick.
Yeah, that's kind of tight.
Yeah.
Once you've been there, it's always more familiar. So you know where all the markers are along the way. And you know how to gauge it. When you haven't done it, or the first time you're doing it, you have nothing to gauge that to. So it's true. Then we go into process. I can't write upside down.
So wait, state management?
Yes. State management is for the other person's state. Okay, for all the things in which you can, ways in which you can manage their state. Okay, and there's tons of them. And
Like where you got me to go from this to this.
hmm?
What did that have to do with the writing of the book? I'm just trying to bridge together information.
Start from the end. Like,
How is that a state management though?
She's trying to change your frame right
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because that's what women do.
now.
Okay, I just thought I missed something.
No, it had nothing to do with it. But I'm kind of waiting for you to throw it together. But no, it didn't have anything to do with it.
Oh, okay.
It was just a question in the middle of it.
Okay, got it.
That's what happens when you get me chasing too many squirrels. I start going off after them. All right, and then you go into, what are we up to, process, which is the words and the exact sequence of how they come out of their mouth. In NLP, what they call the VAK. Visual. Very good. What their strategy is. Okay. NLP has ways to go back and elicit all this information, and it's you know, really cool to learn, and it's really difficult, and it's really a pain in the ass and everything else, okay? Realistically, if all you do is repeat the words that have meaning to someone back to them, number one, they will never realize that you're doing it, okay? And number two, you just cut out 80% of everything because they just gave it back to you in the order and sequence that came out of their mouth. All right, is automatically their optimum strategy. You don't have to figure out the VAK. They just gave it to you by what you said, okay? You came here tonight, you had a specific reason for what you wanted to get and how you wanted to relate it to your life, which was what?
Just all about learning to be my best self.
To be your best self,
Yeah.
okay? And by you being your best self, what would that do for you?
Enhance my life.
Enhance your life
I can't imagine.
in ways you can't imagine?
I can't imagine.
And you can imagine. And the more that it got enhanced, what would that do?
More happiness,
More happy-
confidence, more abundance,
More abundance,
all the good stuff.
all the good stuff. And once you had all of the good stuff in the overall picture, just so I understand with your life, what would that do for you? What would be the biggest benefit with having all that?
Joy.
Joy. Can you feel it? Do you realize I'm feeding you back your exact words? Okay?
Yeah, your smile's getting really big.
Okay, because those are the words that are tied to your emotions. Okay? You can't help but love them. They're the words that came out of you. All right? And the more that I repeat them, the more that you're like, this motherfucker knows exactly what to... Holy shit! You know? Boom. Yeah.
Where have you been all my life? I like this guy.
Yeah. You will have instant rapport with the people that you do that with. Okay?
You taught me that in the social work course. That's what I've been doing.
They taught you that in...
Social work course.
Oh, okay. Cool. Glad somebody uses it.
Regurgitate back what, you know.
Yeah.
So what I hear you saying is, you know, and kind of giving it back to them.
Okay. The difference between
However, that, yeah.
the way they kind of do it, okay, is they try and add in a meaning. They try and wind it down to try and make meaning for you out of it. I don't care. I'm going to give you back your exact words. Because the longer you talk, the more meaning you're going to give me for what it is that drives you and what's behind you.
I
Okay?
think in that sense too, it gets them to believe that you understand them.
What do they call that when, Vince, when you don't repeat it back exactly, but you try to interject what you think it means? There's a term for it.
Yeah, there is a term.
Yeah, and
There is.
that's not what you want to do with this.
Right.
You want to echo it back exact.
Tone though, like, how would you go about the tone? Like, would you copy the exact tone, or would you like, you know, just other tone, just one tone?
Just like doing it here. You're going to notice because he's going to start lighting up. His face is going to change. His eyes are going to go. That's why you have to be more aware of your surroundings when you're talking with people. Okay? And the moment that their body starts to change, their shoulders, they start to roll back. They're really getting comfortable because you're starting to hit on all the words that have the most meaning to them in their life. And they're more than willing to give them to you. Because the more you understand, the easier it is for them. The easier you make it for them, the more that they will tell you. And the deeper your friendship will go, and the deeper that the relationship with a client will go, or a lover will go. You ever have that where you met somebody, and then, you know, you talk for hours and hours and hours, and you're like, oh my God, this girl knows me better than anybody in the world. Huh? It's just haphazardly happened. You weren't consciously trying to do it. It does happen in real life that way too. Okay? And you just immediately get along, and rapport is great. You just want to spend time with them because everything between the two of you is just firing off. You can do that pretty much with everybody just by sorting through it. We do a whole thing that was how to have somebody fall in love with you in 15 minutes. Okay, and a lot of these processes are exactly the same. Okay? And then you can sit there and go through in a matter of 10 minutes what is going to be, whether or not that's the person you want to spend time with. Okay? And you can weed out the crowd in a hurry. Okay? And if it is the person you want to spend time with, then you can go on to the rest of the process. Not tonight, no. When is that? A couple weeks? Couple months? Yeah, we just did it up here. So to be down in Hollywood in a couple of months. Yeah. Did it work? What happened?
Did anybody fall in love with you?
What's that?
I can tell you that the bar after that meeting downstairs was quite the fiasco. Because they all went to the bar with their new powers. Whew. Can I ask you 3 questions? Come here. Can I ask you 3 questions? Oh, yeah, it was crazy. Huh? Oh, yeah. All of them, yeah. It was great. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Make sure you have a good bar. That's right.
Always good to have a good bar nearby. Hollywood's a good bar. There's a titty bar across the street. We had a couple of guys who ended up coming in late because they were over there having a lap dance.
Have a whole like other hypnosis NLP thing going on. That's how you give them your.
I'm not a fan.
And then the last was what we started off with, which was criterion. These 2, out of the whole list, if you have those 2, you will almost always have it. To be able to get whatever you want in life. And then you go in and start throwing in language patterns on top of that when you learn those later on. Okay? Like, you know what cause and effect is? Cool, what is it?
An NLP or?
Yeah.
Oh, no. I probably do, but I'm probably not.
Every action.
X equals cause, Y equals effect. So whatever the cause is brings you to an effect that you wanted to have. And that's a language pattern. There's only 31 language patterns that get more and more complicated. Okay? Which eventually we'll do a class on language patterns as well. But like an example would be simply sitting here listening to the sound of my voice causes you to relax. And even though you may not know how or why you're beginning to relax, the sudden awareness of it is already creeping in. Haven't you noticed it yet? Oh shit, he got me. Simply understanding how to use cause and effect more precisely allows you to begin to target communications and create powerful statements in a way that go right to people's brains and beliefs, creating a profound sense of reality and truth through a process known as presupposition, which is the neurological equivalent of an assumption. And by the time that you're conscious of what I said, your nervous system has already done it. So you're already too late, except to sit back and enjoy it now. So my question to you was, is that painful to listen to? No. And you guys don't have a clue of what I said to you. Except that you loved it and you're nodding your heads yes. Okay? And that's what happens when you can take the language patterns and put it on top of this. Okay? This is the basis. When you have all this down, you have 80%. The rest of it, okay, and as far as influence, is just adding in the language patterns on top of it, which eventually one of these meetings will do. It just creates absorption. And the funny part is, you guys know exactly what I'm doing to you, and you still can't stop it. Okay? So imagine how powerful that is outside of the room. Who's got questions?
I mean, I was reading the NLP book for like nonstop, like opening up about like a whole bunch of crazy stuff. It wasn't normal. I'm pretty sure like I was like subconsciously like using some of the like techniques in the book.
Probably were. Now really go back and read it and be conscious of what you're trying to do. And you'll just become more and more powerful. Funny thing with the mind is when you start reading stuff like that, it's only going to absorb the things you need at that moment. So now that you used it, you found that it works a little bit, and then you came to one of these and you can see where you can use it. When you go back and read it, you're going to pull out all kinds of information out of that book that you didn't even see the first time.
I just wanted to share something with everybody. Mind maps, I can't take everything notes. I would never forget about it. Like mind maps, when you put the one word like in the cloud and then you got another like brainstorming, and take notes like that. It's a lot quicker and like way more.
You'll be fun. Come to the one that I do with memory. Because it's all like that, and how to remember like lists of 100 things, which just has to do about going around the room and where you place them, and you'll be amazed. You'll be able to remember like all of them. I don't know when that's going to be, a few months away, but because we try to do these like once a month. Anybody have any questions?
Did everybody fill out this?
Fill that out. Take the chocolate home with you. Otherwise, I'll have to actually do a weight loss on myself. There's 2 cards. You guys have a gift just for coming out. Just fill out the information and give it to Vince in the back. And I'm going to give everybody a 30-minute. I say 30 minutes. Such bullshit because it never is. It ends up being like 2 hours because I end up going really deep. But it's a free consultation for whatever you guys want to go over, whatever you want to solve within yourself, whatever it is. Any questions you have about tonight, last night's baseball game, whatever you want to talk about. All right? And we'll go through it. I'm not going to say that we're going to solve anything in that period. All right? But we'll take a look at what it is and what you were looking for, and I'll point you in the right direction for whatever will help you get more. Fair enough?
Yes.
So, real quick, criterion value, is that the same thing as we're talking about keywords?
Criterion values?
Yeah.
No.
When you were talking to him
No,
about...
my perception of the criterion value was like the blueprint that I have for
your state.
my state, yes.
Yes, well, it's how it comes out.
Right.
Okay, yes, because those are, the criterion values are your rules. They are your beliefs. They're the most protected thing that you have in your system. Okay? Yeah. The process, okay, is going to be your VAK, is going to be how those words come out specifically. Okay? And you take exactly what those words are that light them. And you got to look for the emotional triggers. Okay? Like you did. Everybody was watching. As he started to get into it, all right, as it started to hit home, his face changed. His eyes opened up. He sat back. His chest came up. His shoulders came up. And that's what you're looking for. Okay? Yes.
Okay, so like if somebody says, I see what you mean, I see what you're saying, I see it, okay? They're a very visual person, okay? And then all you have to do is give it back to them visually. So can you see what I mean? But can you see the value here? Can you see? Because they can see it, okay?
Yes.
But they can't hear it, but they can see it. Okay, or I hear what you're saying, man. Yeah, I get it. I hear the meaning. I'm getting the meaning. I get it. You know, or if they're in it, right? This is right. Yes, this is correct.
Well, it's the beginning of what starts them out. People are all each part of it. Okay. If you see something, okay, for instance, for the first time, okay, what happens with you? Let's say it's a product that you're going to buy. Okay? Is it something you see first or something you hear first?
I guess I see it first.
You see it first. And then after you see it, what do you do? Specifically.
I will hold it and
Do you buy it right away or do you go investigate more?
I probably give investigate
And how do you investigate by doing more?
by
in the product or listening to somebody or going to see a video. Okay? So you go AV and the final is K. Because in order for you to buy the product, okay, is kinetic. You have to physically get up. You have to move to go do it. You have to make that action. So your lock is going to be AVK. Whereas other people's is maybe AK. They don't have to hear anything else. All right? All they got to do is hear it and they're gone. They're out to buy it. Everybody's is different. If you analyze the steps you do, everybody has little pieces. Okay? But if you give everybody their keywords back to them, all right, they're already giving you the words. They're already giving you the code. You don't have to elicit it. It's much easier that way than trying to figure out which is right. Right? Cool? Thanks for coming out, guys.
Thank you.
So it's now
Wake up, trance is over.
I feel like I was in a trance.
Doesn't feel like you were in a trance?
I said I did feel like I
Oh, you
was.
did feel like you were in a trance. Good.
When people yawn, if you're doing well and you're giving a speech and they yawn, a lot of people get upset by that. You?
More concerned about myself.
People yawn when they go into trance. The more they yawn, the deeper they go into trance.
Huh, really?
Hmm?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
In Kundalini Yoga, I practice a lot of Kundalini Yoga, and they say when you're yawning, that's a very good thing.
It is.
It's like all of them.
Because you're absorbing a lot more, I guess, you would
Yes.
think, right? Huh.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not because there's no oxygen in the room?
No, not at all. And people, they'll twitch sometimes. They'll do all kinds of things when they go into trance, and the deeper that they go. And it bothers a lot of people when they talk to them. I mean, a lot of people put people in trance into talks that are just absolutely boring, and people go into them, and it's, not for any specific purpose. And then they get upset when people yawn and, like, fall asleep. People fall asleep, be wide awake in a talk, and absorb all of it.
Gotcha.
So everybody remember,
Get enough on state control?